Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Where are you zooming from?
I'm in Georgia.
All right, nice. What part can I ask?
I'm in Americus.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn, so we're in the same time zone.
Oh,
I
nice.
think, is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
Eastern.
cool. Okay, good.
I absolutely loved Griffin in Summer, and congrats on it being your feature film debut. That's really awesome.
Thanks. I'm so glad you liked it.
Um, why why this film as your debut? What went into that decision?
I think I went to NYU grad film school and I graduated around 2019, and I was lucky that some of the shorts I'd made had won some awards, and I'd gotten other opportunities to write for people and with people. And once the pandemic hit, I just was in this place of, and everything, shut down, of really just, wanting to write something that was really legitimately a first feature that was just mine, that wasn't wrapped up in any other personalities yet, that was just something that was really specific and authentic to me and my experiences, and also was as producible as possible. Although there's always things that are, nothing is ever easy to produce. But so that's really ended up how I settling on the idea. I mean, I can go more into inspiration stuff, but really just on a practical level, I just really wanted to figure out a way to make a film that uh on a small budget that still felt like a complete film and felt hyper specific to me.
Um, so how personal does this story get for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not my autobiography. There are autobiographical elements. Not my autobiography in the sense like these were not my parents. This was not my home life. This was not my I did not have a handyman experience like this when I was this age. Like none of those things that happen in the film that made those big events happen to me. The thing that is very much autobiographical is the theater element, which is that I did spend my childhood, my adolescence, kind of aggressively playing adult by directing plays and films out of my parents' basement. With I was unlike Griffin, I was always more interested in comedy, but it was still like Neil Simon, so it was still like kids, 13, 14-year olds in bad wigs drinking fake martinis talking about their divorces. So it's still and that's actually just to tie it all back during COVID, I started digitizing my home movies just to keep busy from of those theater productions. And it really wasn't until then that I had the perspective of that I didn't feel embarrassed or I didn't feel defensive of them. I just was able to see the kind of greater comedy, the greater irony of everyone on stage and certainly the person off stage so aggressively playing adult, which then just became, the kind of thematic uh starting off point for the film.
Nice, nice. Um, I absolutely loved that both Griffin and Brad have the opportunity to showcase their art within the film. And it really tells us a lot about their characters. Can you talk a little bit about what went into creating Griffin's play and Brad's performance piece?
Yeah, for sure. With Brad's performance piece, I have had some exposure to performance art, but really my main takeaway from it when I was trying to figure out the Brad's show was that you can't really satirize performance art. It's so extreme and severe that just the actual reality of it is so can be so absurd. So I really just kind of talked to friends of mine in that world and asked, well, what would a 25-year-old straight guy, kind of narcissist performance artist be doing? Like, what would it look like? And that was the starting off point. And ultimately, Owen was a big collaborator on the actual show. He did the backdrop, he did the music, we So it was really just trying. I mean, I am aware that it's funny in the film, mostly Everett's reaction, but um, I just was trying to be authentic there. And with Griffin's play it was a similar thing of authenticity in terms of, there are a lot of movies, authenticity in every way in terms of the writing and the production. There are a lot of films that I love that are about community theater or high school theater, but when, you get to the play part of it, it becomes kind of obvious that, well, this is a professionally designed, made by adult professionals. So because I had so much experience making teen produced theater, I have a very clear sense of what that looks like and the kind of homemade piece together, taking the mother's bathrobe, taking the, beg, borrow, and steal, the older brother's suit that you have to have stapled to make smaller, like all the stuff that those little pieces I was really clear on and really adamant about in terms of authenticity and in terms of the play itself or the quality of the writing. There's also been questions that have come up of like, oh, is the Griffin talented? Is he not talented? And my whole response is always, well, he's 14 and there is no such thing as a playwriting prodigy. There's not a great American play that was written by a 14-year-old that does not exist. So the idea was more that his passion and his ambition is bigger than his resources and ability and life experiences. So, and also I think like a lot of people who have an interest in the arts when they're young, but maybe not, you know, haven't developed talent yet, they start off by impersonating other things. So Griffin's play is very much, and people have pointed out, there are, although they haven't caught all of them, there are lines and moments and things that are very derivative. It's kind of intentionally derivative of Griffin's, you know, 14-year-old small town idea of what theater would be, what theater is, what New York, which is, by his point of view, was kind of this kitchen sink mid 20th century um domestic drama.
Um, I was a theater kid in high school as well, so a lot of what Griffin was doing really resonated with me in terms of like just trying
Cool.
to do something.
Right, yes, yes. He takes it farther than most, and I took it even farther than Griffin did, but in terms of just the severity of things. But yeah.
But I mean, with what he had, he did a great job.
I think so, yeah. I think that ultimately it's like he pulls it off.
Everett and Owen are absolutely incredible. I love their work individually and then especially when they're together. But did you have a hand in casting them?
Yeah, absolutely. Everett, it was 450 kids. Meredith Tucker and Betsy Fippinger were the casting directors, but it was 450 kids just for Everett's part. And then Owen's part, it was a long list of looking at different actors. But yeah, ultimately we cast Owen first, and then Everett, when he auditioned opposite the top three Griffins. And exactly what you said, they were just such an amazing pair. They're very, very similar. I remember when we first finished, Everett first logged off of the Zoom audition with Owen. Owen's comment was, "That was me at 13. Like, that's me." And now Everett's 8 inches taller than we when we shot the film. So they are becoming increasingly, like twins. But yeah, they're very similar, I think, in their energy, and there is they do kind of look alike at times to me. I mean, no one's going to confuse them in the street, but they feel kind of like twins in certain ways, kind of a bizarre twins, which I think help the film, even though they also are wildly different as characters in the film.
How did you settle on Griffin and Summer as the title?
I wanted the title to be kind of feel like a play title. Like it could be like the title of like a play from the 50s. So the name of Griffin's play is Regrets of Autumn. And so Griffin, especially because, Griffin is a name or, you know, yeah, mythological creature, Griffin. Like I wanted to feel like a slightly elegant, slightly pretentious, formal play title. And then also there's a big history or tradition of summer movies and summer first love movies. And, sometimes they, YA summer, and they often have, sometimes they do even have summer in the title. And to me, this film is subverting a lot of those kind of first love, wish fulfillment tropes in terms of or it's kind of a twisted version of those. So I wanted to have summer in the title for that reason as well.
Awesome. Um, in subverting these tropes, was that intentional or was that just something that you realized as you were writing?
Yeah, it's something, it was intentional. It's, there's a big, beyond just summer movies, there's also a big tradition of kind of first time filmmakers, their first features being autobiographical, kind of casting a mini adolescent version of them, and it's about the first kind of their first love affair. Love affair may not be the right word, but it's usually, at least in the indie film world, either it's a glossy kind of YA wish fulfillment, or it's a very kind of dark, punishing, traumatic story. And so I thought doing the comedy version of that. And for me, what that meant was just leaning into like, what is this really like for, at least for me, which means what was this really like for me in terms of like people's first crushes. And I'm sure some people when they're, 13, 14 have a reciprocated, appropriate first crush, and it's fantasy, but that was not my experience.
Um, in your director's statement, you mentioned that you were surprised that this film is being labeled as a queer coming of age film. Can you explain why you were surprised by that?
Yeah, I don't know if I was surprised. I probably said surprised, but I think it always just strikes me when people refer to it in terms of the coming of age. I, I understand that that's what it is. The coming of age element, I just think like we're all coming of age. So any movie that I make that's about like human beings, there's going to be some coming of age element, no matter what age they are. So. And someone also at a Q&A coined the phrase to me that the film is actually even more of a reverse coming of age in the sense that Griffin starts off, very much pretending to be older than he is, and then by the end is actually stepping more into his youth and adolescence. And in terms of the queer element, that I'm fine with. It's just I definitely think I think have said like the queer the Griffin's queerness is not incidental to the film. It's central to it. It just isn't the central point of conflict. So I think it is very much a queer film and a queer story. I just don't identify it as a coming out story necessarily, and I don't. That's just not how I see it, and I also don't see it as um yeah, that's I just don't see it as a coming out story really. I but I do think it is a queer film for sure.
Gotcha. So not quite accurate, but also accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all accurate. I never thought, oh, I'm writing a queer coming of age story. And that's to
Hmm.
me, that has an inference of like, oh, well, the conflict is going to be around coming out or some non-acceptance. And there are many wonderful movies like that. I just uh that just wasn't how I approached this one.
Makes sense. Makes sense. My final question for you is, what is up next?
I'm leaving the country, not forever, but I'm going from talking to you to the airport. And so I'm uh, gonna be, yeah, so there's that, that's happening. I assume you mean what's up for me next professionally, which I guess I'll just say that I certainly want to be making another film sooner than later, and but in the immediate future, I'm we're still just kind of pushing Griffin and making sure as many people as possible see it and that it has as long of a tail as possible because everyone who worked on the film is really proud of it, and so we're hoping that it. We've already been in theaters for a couple weeks. We have VOD next week. We have streaming premiere later this fall, and so we just want to share it as widely as possible and get Griffin's kind of uh you know reign of gay teen terror all over the world.
I love it. I love it. Amazing. Thank you so much for chatting.
Thank
Again, I
you.
absolutely loved it. So,
Great.
um, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a safe flight.
Great. Thanks so much, Beth. I appreciate it.